The room was silent. Cameras flashed. The host smiled nervously, and Jamie Dornan sat across from her, his fingers clasped tightly together. It was supposed to be another promotional interview, the kind he'd done 1,000 times before. But this time, something in his eyes was different. There was no trace of the charming grin or the calm composure fans had come to expect. Instead, there was a flicker of pain. The host asked a harmless question, one that every actor gets eventually. Is there anyone who changed the way you see love? For a moment, Jamie didn't answer. His jaw tightened, his gaze dropped, and when he finally looked up, his voice cracked just slightly as he whispered, "I loved her all along." The audience froze. Even the host seemed stunned. It wasn't the words themselves, it was the way he said them. Quiet, broken, real. Within hours, that clip was everywhere. Social media exploded. Fans replayed it over and over, dissecting every expression, every pause. Was he talking about Dakota Johnson? Was it Amelia? Who was she? The mystery only made it worse. For the first time in years, Jamie Dornan had lost control of his own story. And it all began with 6 words that sounded like a confession. To understand the weight of that sentence, you have to go back to when Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson first met on the set of 50 Shades of Grey. The chemistry between them was undeniable, almost too real. What started as rehearsed passion for the cameras slowly turned into something unspoken. Every glance, every touch seemed to linger just a little too long. They both denied it, of course. "We're just good friends," Jamie would say with a polite laugh. "He's like a brother to me," Dakota once claimed. But everyone could see it. The way his eyes softened when she entered the room. The way her laughter seemed different around him. And yet, Jamie had someone waiting at home, Amelia Warner. The woman who had stood by him through years of struggle before fame ever arrived. She was the steady ground beneath his whirlwind career, the reminder of who he was before Hollywood. That's what made his connection with Dakota so dangerous. It wasn't forbidden because of scandal, it was forbidden because it felt too right. During the height of the 50 Shades phenomenon, rumors swirled endlessly. Fans dissected interviews, paparazzi photos, and red carpet moments. Every shared smile was proof, every inside joke a sign. But Jamie always maintained loyalty, insisting Amelia was his center, his reality. Dakota, for her part, respected the boundary, at least in public. But those who were there saw the truth. Between takes, they would laugh quietly, exchange knowing glances. There was an ease between them that no script could create. One crew member later admitted, "You could feel something. It wasn't acting, it was connection." Years passed, and both went their separate ways professionally. Yet somehow, their names never truly separated. Every new role, every interview, every reunion photo reignited the whispers. And now, with that one emotional slip on live television, it felt as if Jamie had confirmed what fans had always suspected, that he had loved Dakota Johnson, quietly and completely, from the very beginning. The video clip of his interview hit 10 million views in a single day. Headlines screamed, "Jamie Dornan breaks down over secret love." Who was the woman he couldn't forget? In one viral post, a fan slowed down the video, zooming in on Jamie's expression as he said the words. You can see his eyes welling up. The caption read, "That's not acting. That's a man remembering something he lost." Amelia Warner, as always, remained silent. She didn't respond, didn't post, didn't explain. But her silence spoke louder than any statement could. Insiders close to the couple said Jamie hadn't warned her about the interview. He just said it, one source said. You could tell it wasn't planned. Later that night, as the clip continued to dominate every feed, fans noticed something else. Dakota Johnson had been tagged in hundreds of posts about Jamie's confession. She didn't comment, but she liked one post. Just one. The caption under it read, "Some things are never over." That single tap from her account reignited everything. Theories, emotions, heartbreak. Some fans were thrilled. He finally said it. While others pitied Amelia, the woman caught in the middle of a love story she never asked to be part of. And as the world debated, Jamie Dornan stayed quiet. No clarifications, no denials. Just silence. Maybe because for the first time in his life, the truth had already been spoken, and he couldn't take it back. In that one fragile moment on camera, he wasn't the actor, or the celebrity, or the husband. He was just a man finally admitting the words he'd buried for years. I loved her all along. The confession that broke Hollywood, and perhaps, his own heart. The morning after his confession, Hollywood was on fire. News outlets ran the headline in bold. Jamie Dornan. I loved her all along. Every show, every podcast, every blog had the same question. Who was he talking about? By noon, it didn't matter who. Everyone already decided it was Dakota Johnson. Clips of the two from 50 Shades of Grey resurfaced everywhere. The way he looked at her, the way she laughed, the softness in his tone whenever he said her name. Fans pieced it all together like detectives solving a love story years in the making. You can't fake that kind of connection, one viral comment said. He's been in love with her forever. Meanwhile, Jamie stayed completely silent. No tweets, no follow-up interviews. His publicist released a short statement. Mr. Dornan's comments were taken out of emotional context. But that only fueled the fire. Emotional context? That was the point. He had felt it, and now the world did too. Behind the scenes, Jamie wasn't doing much better. Friends say he barely slept that night. He watched the clip himself, over and over, as if trying to understand the man on screen. It didn't even feel like me, he told one confidant. It felt like something that's been waiting to come out for years. For years, Jamie had carried himself like the picture of control. But that single confession cracked the armor. It wasn't about fame, or scandal, or even Dakota. It was about everything he'd never said. Across town, Dakota Johnson was in the middle of filming when the news broke. A member of her team handed her a phone, showing her the headline. For a few seconds, she just stared at it, expression unreadable. Then she quietly handed it back and said, I always wondered if he'd ever say it. Those who knew her said she didn't seem angry, just nostalgic. Dakota always felt there was something left unspoken between them, one friend said. They both knew, but life got in the way. And life had indeed gotten in the way, careers, distance, timing, and the unspoken rule that some love stories can only survive in fiction. Still, Hollywood thrives on emotional chaos. Rumors started immediately. Jamie and Dakota seen texting again. Could they reunite for a new project? Every headline painted the confession as a second chance. But behind closed doors, it was more complicated than that. Amelia Warner, the woman who had stood beside Jamie for years, was once again pulled into a storm she never started. Yet, like always, she handled it with grace. No interviews, no comments. A single photo of her walking with their children went viral, calm, elegant, silent. Underneath it, one fan wrote, "The quiet ones always bleed the most." Jamie knew it too. He felt the weight of his words more with each passing day. What had sounded like truth in the moment now echoed like guilt in his mind. It's strange, he admitted to a friend, how honesty can feel like freedom and punishment at the same time. Weeks passed, but the story refused to fade. Late-night hosts joked about it, fans debated it, and YouTube channels dissected every frame of his interview. Yet Jamie didn't try to explain himself. Maybe because there was nothing left to explain. Then, unexpectedly, Dakota broke her silence. At a charity gala in Los Angeles, a journalist shouted, "Dakota, have you spoken to Jamie since his confession?" She smiled faintly and replied, "Some things don't need words." That short response was enough to set the internet ablaze again. It was calm, mature, and deeply telling. Some called it closure. Others called it a quiet confirmation. Either way, it was the ending fans didn't expect but somehow always wanted. In the weeks that followed, Jamie and Dakota were never seen together, not once. But the distance between them only made the confession feel more haunting. It was as if they both understood that love, once exposed, could never go back to being hidden again. A close source later revealed that Jamie wrote a letter, never meant for the public, a letter he would never send. In it, he supposedly wrote, "You were my favorite chapter, even if I wasn't yours." When asked months later in a separate interview whether he believed in the one who got away, Jamie smiled wistfully and said, "I think everyone has one." That single line became another headline. Fans cried, others sighed, and some simply whispered, "He's still talking about her." But perhaps the truth was simpler. Maybe Jamie's confession wasn't about rekindling an old flame. Maybe it was about finally setting it free. Because sometimes love doesn't end when people move on. It just changes shape, lingering quietly in the spaces between what was and what could have been. And so, the story faded, not with a scandal, not with a reunion, but with two people carrying the same memory in different directions. For the world, it was a shocking confession. For Jamie Dornan, it was finally closure. He had said the words that haunted him for years. He had told the truth, not for the cameras, but for himself. "I loved her all along." A love story the world will never stop talking about, because it ended the way all great stories do, with truth, heartbreak, and silence.